How's our sound?
I think we're better.
Okay. All right, I'll bring the meeting of May 9th, 2024 to order, and we will have Mrs. Lewis lead us in the flag.
As you begin, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then roll call.
Yeah.
Councilmember Hornick.
Here.
Councilmember Lewis.
Here.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Yep.
Vice Mayor Silva.
Here.
Here. Any reordering of the agenda?
No reordering of the agenda this evening.
I would like to reorder that to do our presentations now.
I'm sorry, okay.
Yeah, we're.
There we go, okay.
What if I change that?
Because they don't need to be here.
As long as it's coming through on online, I think we're okay.
Well, okay, never mind. I'm gonna.
I'm just watching. I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay.
Leaving.
Scott, I'm gonna countermand my own request. To reorder.
I don't remember.
To reorder
Oh,
presentations to now.
You're fine. Okay. Mayor's
Okay.
prerogative.
Public comment.
You have one.
One public comment from Patty Hamill.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Patty Hamill, resident of Buellton, 20 years. Tonight, I represent the Santa Ynez Valley Airport Authority. I've handed out flyers and postcards. I want to invite you to attend our annual Airport Day. It's basically an open house for our little airport in the valley. It's Saturday, May 18th, 10 to 4, fun for all ages. It's a free event, free parking, free lunch, various vendors, and then it's a static display airport day, so it's not to be confused with an air show. We have 25 plus aircraft on display, including the Santa Barbara County Air Support, which is our fire and sheriff. We will have a couple of helicopters there, including the Firehawk, which is the former Blackhawk converted to a firefighting machine. Also, this year is super special. We have a special guest aircraft. On the flyer, it's the artist rendering of the P-38 Lightning. We have one of those coming.
My favorite.
I'll see you there then. It's the premier fighter plane of World War II. There's only 26 left in the world. 10 are airworthy, and this is one of them. It's currently housed at the Planes of Fame Museum in Chino, and so they are generously donating it to us for a day. Again, I hope to see you all there. I want to see Buellton represented in Valley events. And again, it's Saturday, May 18th, 10 to 4. Hope to see you.
Okay, thank you, Patty. Okay, any other public comments?
No others.
All right, then we'll move on to consent. And this will be the minutes of the meeting, April 29th, 2024 special city council meeting. Minutes of April 25th, regular city council meeting, list of claims to be approved and ratified for payment to date fiscal year 23-24. Financial report for third quarter ending in March 31st. Resolution 2410, resolution of the city council, city of Buellton, California, adopting fiscal year 24-25 list of products funded by SB1, the Road Repair Accountability Act of 2017. And I am going to pull 6 off for discussion and request to pause lease payments for AT&T. Except for number 6, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Linda?
Okay, Councilmember Hornick.
Aye.
Councilmember Lewis.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silva.
Aye.
Aye. All right, since I pulled resolution number 2411, resolution of the City Council, City of Buellton, California, modifying red curb on locations of McMurray Road and Valley Vineyard Circle, in addition to a green curb, 2-hour parking locations on Valley Vineyard Circle. Reason I pulled this off is I have had a change of opinion. There was a request to have a couple of short red curbs at the north exit and entrance to Valley Vineyard Circle, and on the south side as well. Now, there is already one existing there for the fire hydrant, but I wanted to possibly modify that to have a 6-foot red curb at both of those locations to give a little bit more sight picture as you're pulling in or out of Valley Vineyard Circle. I have had complaints from residents saying that high-profile vehicles park there. If they park all the way to that curb line, then it's difficult for them to see in either directions to pull out on that road. So I think that we should take into consideration putting at least a 6-foot. You all know that there is a bike lane there. That would give approximately 10 feet between the red curb on Valley Vineyard Circle to the intersection, so people could move up and not have high-profile vehicles blocking their sight picture up and down that way.
Mr. Mayor, just for clarification, you're referring to both sides of Valley Vineyard Circle at the northern entry to McMurray Road.
Correct. And then just the north curb on the south exit.
North curb on the south intersection, both curbs. on
Right,
the-
right where we saw the picture of that vehicle parked right at that
Right.
stop sign, or
Okay.
stopped at the stop sign, whatever the case
Right
is.
under the stop sign, 6 feet. And
Correct.
on the north side, both sides.
Both sides, correct.
Rose?
Share my screen real quick, just
Please.
so that should be clear.
I only have visual of the South Valley Vineyard Circle for now.
Right,
But we're
So-
talking about 6 feet,
yes.
at
6
this
6 feet
location right here,
Right. prior
and
to
then on
stop
the
sign.
same segment on the North Valley Vineyard Circle,
Correct, same
6
con-
feet here and 6 feet on the south.
Yes.
Yes, now there is already, now we were gonna modify that south side, south exit.
Correct.
But
Yes.
that red curb is going to remain.
Correct.
Part of the red curb, it will be shortened, but we'll have we'll have 15 or 20 feet there.
Yeah, there'll be at least
Up
15.
against McMurray, and then part of that will go green. Part of it, this red will go green.
Right,
Okay, any objection to that?
You're gonna add 6 feet of red on the
right here.
North
northern
side,
edge,
right
and
here.
And then on the north.
Right, and
Correct.
then the north
Entrance exit.
entrance exit,
Both
same
sides,
thing.
correct.
So that high profile vehicles don't park there. Any objection to that? Okay. With the
So we
amendment,
can bring that back at the next meeting for formal adoption, I think is probably our best bet.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and presentations. We do have a couple of presentations. One is a proclamation recognizing Peace Officer Memorial Day, May 15th, 2024, and National Police Week, May 12th through the 18th. We will start with that one. Proclamation recognizing National Peace Officers Memorial Day, May 15th, 2024, National Police Week, May 12th through 18th, 2024. Whereas the Congress and the President of the United States have adopted public law 87-54 designating May 15 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in recognition of law enforcement officers nationwide who have sacrificed their lives or have been disabled in the performance of their duties. And whereas Public Law 87-54 also designates the week of May 15th falls as National Police Week in recognition of service provided by thousands of federal, state, and local law enforcement officers. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of those who dedicated their lives to law enforcement profession and to keeping our communities safe. And whereas police officers throughout the state and nation risk their lives on a daily basis to maintain peace within the community and protect the lives and property of our citizens. And whereas the members of Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department and local CHP officers provide a vital public service safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the city of Buellton. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Dave King, and the city of, and the Buellton City Council do hereby recognize May 15th, 2024 as National Peace Officers Memorial and May 12th through 18th, 2024 as National Police Week in the city of Buellton, and encourage the community to join in this observance. Presented this 9th day of May, 2024. And I will have our lieutenant come up and accept this presentation.
Picture.
You got a picture.
I'll try.
Here. Yeah, right. You want to say anything?
I can.
Okay, please.
Always.
No, we're gonna come up here after he says something to take all of us.
Yeah, if we can, I can have the patrol car if you guys want to do the patrol car photo because it's brand new.
Oh, yeah, I want
With
to
your-
saw today. I got
yeah,
the-
yeah, it's
I got
brand
the
new.
15-cent tour. We'll go, take a 5-minute break.
Yeah,
go
we'll
out,
take a
a
5-minute break.
picture.
When it should be here any minute. If it's not here
Oh,
already.
he's bringing it?
Yeah, he's bringing it
Oh,
here.
okay.
That's what they're.
Yeah. After this presentation. recess.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And,
can do
you
that.
know,
That'll-
you say
that'll be
something and when
perfect.
he shows up, we'll go out and do a photo op.
Well, good evening, everybody, and we'd just like to thank you for the proclamation. As you know, we thoroughly enjoy working for the city of Buellton, and I think it's progressed to something that everybody seems to enjoy, even though it is law enforcement. Your motor program is very successful. The citizens may not be as excited as they were in the beginning. Our numbers have gone up significantly in our traffic citations. However, we do notice a significant decrease in speed on the 246. And if that was the goal, we have achieved that. And we have 2 strong deputies working that, and they're doing an outstanding job. So we thank you for that. Keeping that motorcycle upright and running is helping us out greatly. But if anybody has any questions or concerns or any future goals or ideas for us, I'm always open and I can address it now or I can address it later. I just would want to, I thank you for this, and we'll make sure that it gets up in the Buellton station. And then if you guys are interested, we can forward a big one for Santa Maria. They post the whole entire over the council. Awesome. They do a law enforcement for the memorial for the sacrifice that many law unfortunately have to be in protecting their community.
It's awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, so let's do Pam's presentation and then we'll go out and do a photo op.
While we're at it. Mr. Silverman, your item is complete.
And you.
Okay, and this is a proclamation recognizing National Military Appreciation Month. And whereas in 2004, the United States Congress passed a resolution proclaiming May as National Military Appreciation Month, encouraging all citizens to honor current and former members of the U.S. Armed Forces and their families, including those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. And whereas the month of May was selected for this display of patriotism because during this month, we celebrate Victory in Europe, VE Day, Military Spouse Day, Loyalty Day, Armed Forces Day, National Day of Prayer, and Memorial Day. And whereas the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness enumerated in the Declaration of Independence, secured by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and enjoyed by every citizen in the United States, are secured by the dedication of members of the United States Armed Forces. And whereas Military Appreciation Month honors the current and former members of the United States Armed Forces, including those who have died in the pursuit of freedom. And whereas the sacrifices made by all members of the United States Armed Forces and their loved ones are to be valued. And whereas on this month and throughout the year, citizens of Buellton express our gratitude and commitment to Buellton service members, veterans, and their families who have dedicated their lives in defense of our freedoms. And now, therefore, I, Mayor Dave King, and the Buellton City Council do hereby recognize May 24th as National Military Appreciation Month in the city of Buellton and encourage the community to join in this observance. This is presented on the 9th of May, 2024. And I wanted Pam Nico to take this proclamation, and she can display it where many of the veterans that visit her senior center can look at this on the wall. Sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for our veterans. Would you like to say something?
Of course, always, never miss the opportunity here.
Wow. Thank you, Mayor Kane. Thank you, City Council. Thank you, everybody who works in the city of Buellton and helps us. I'm so honored to take this, and it will be in our veterans room that people just enjoy and come and see every day. We are so excited to bring everything veteran here to Buellton. We're going to have two really large veteran events here, one down Avenue of the Flags, and then hopefully one over at River Park. And I mean, this is where it should be. And we're so appreciative of Buellton honoring all the veterans here in Buellton. And son-in-law, Navy vet right here, and my and thank you for all the support from my family. This means a lot, and Buellton means a lot to us. So thank you so much for
you.
this.
And Pam, why don't you come out here and we're gonna.
Oh. And it was very fitting because my daughter's police officer in the very back, and you honored that tonight too. So how cool is that? Right? It's a whole family affair, right?
We got all of you.
We got all of it, and that's hard to do because there's a whole bunch of us. We're gonna teach them about doing that up thing with the camera, Scott. If you're gonna take ladies' pictures, could you go up high and then we're just kidding.
There's an angle.
Right, let's do it.
All right, I gotta hire a professional photographer. That's my wife, she'll tell you.
Yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, and we will take a 5-minute break and we'll go out and we will take a picture around our brand new car because the last one got crashed. Got crashed? Yeah. Moving on to council member comments or items. It'll be comments or items you'd maybe like to see come back onto the agenda. Alicia? Hudson?
Yes, I was at Riverview Park this last Saturday, for Buellton Brew Fest, which was fantastic. Saw many of you out there. I was there at the park the following day as well on Sunday. And I just spoke to City Manager Scott Wolf about this a little bit, and I just wanted to bring it back to council's attention that I think that we really need to be proactive in sort of trying to get on permitting whatever road we can try and develop across the culvert at the bottom side of the Williamson House property, just because the ingress egress road that runs between the BMX track and the playground right at Riverview Park is just an accident waiting to happen, and I really would hate to see that when we can see that it's going to be a problem and do something about it now. I know there's an order of priorities, but on Sunday, there's a bunch of kids out there, a bunch of kids playing on BMX track, rolling down the hill right into that roadway. I mean, laying in the roadway, my own kids included, lots of families out there. So just want to sort of bring that back to council's attention. And we're doing committee reports later?
Yes.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. David, do you have anything?
Yes, I just wanted to bring attention. I know that actually I believe Lieutenant Valencia may have left already. I'm not sure if he's still in the audience, but though we have seen a lot of activity on 246 with ticketing and things, I just wanted to kind of bring the mindfulness that we are still seeing high complaints of kind of speeding down McMurray, especially late at night. So I just wanted to raise that as an awareness, if we could just make sure that Lieutenant Valencia is mindful of having police presence on McMurray as well at times. Although I know 246 is a priority, of course, I just wanted to make sure we continue to keep an eye on that area as well.
It is one of the areas that the police department is aware of, and I will speak with Lieutenant Valencia and ask him to make sure that that gets a little bit more attention than it's been getting if it hasn't.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I do not have any comments or items. Written communications.
None this evening.
Okay, now moving on to committee reports. Alicia.
I met with the green team today. We discussed I'm gonna mess this up. The San Ynez Valley cross transit
Regional Active Transportation Corridor.
Regional Active Transportation Corridor or something thereabouts. What
Yeah,
was
something like that.
what was previously
river trail.
the river trail? Scott Wolf was generous enough to donate his time to educating us as to what was going on with that, and basically reiterating what came out of the public meeting in Solvang at the Vets Hall, I believe, about how those different segments are going to come together, where they're going to cross in Buellton, and sort of how we can be at the forefront of seeing that project move forward. And so thank you, Scott, for that. We also talked about having the city be designated as a tree city, as part of Tree City USA. Part of that will require a public tree advisory board. There was discussion about how to best move forward with that. And I sent an email to City Manager Scott Wolf and Public Works Director Rose Hess about that. And maybe we can sort of get together and have a meeting of the minds as to how best to get an advisory board established that wouldn't be any extra burden on the city, but also wouldn't be a burden on the green team. And once that happens, we will sort of expect to see the green team come together and put something before the city council for adoption. And that's really it.
Okay. And I did attend North County Sub-Regional meeting for SB-CAG. The brunt of the discussion was about expanding the Clean Air Express routes. So the more people can get on those from Santa Maria all the way down to Santa Barbara. Some of those routes were not connected. They've increased the times and the frequency of those, and so more people are going to be able to take advantage of that. And it's fairly inexpensive. I asked them directly how much that was. And I think a one-way ride, I think from Santa Maria, I asked them for Santa Maria to Goleta at $7. I mean, you're going to spend more for gas than you would riding on the bus. So it's going to be a good benefit for the community. David?
Nothing for me.
Okay. And let us move on to business items. This will be number 10, urgency ordinance number 2403, an urgency ordinance of the city council of the city of Buellton, California, amending chapter 19.02.210 of the Buellton Municipal Code pertaining to permitting requirements and appropriate zones for emergency shelters. And the staff contact on this is going to be our planning director, Andrea Kiefer.
Great. Good evening, Mayor King and members of City Council. Before you this evening is Urgency Ordinance 24-03 pertaining to establishing appropriate zones and permit requirements for emergency shelters in Buellton. You may recall that back on March 28th, staff brought to you an urgency ordinance similar to the one being brought tonight. At that time that the ordinance was brought back in March, there appeared to be more of an immediate need to adopt an urgency ordinance to effectively basically place a 45-day moratorium on the establishment of emergency shelters and zones, which currently allow such uses. There no longer appears to be an immediate need for the temporary moratorium. However, because the city's purpose is to adopt a permanent ordinance reflecting changes to the municipal code pertaining to the location and permitting requirements for emergency shelters, and because the moratorium will expire before the next city council meeting, and also well before the process for adoption of a permanent ordinance can be completed, staff's position is that it would be prudent and appropriate to adopt a new urgency ordinance. The purpose of adopting a new urgency ordinance would be to protect the public peace, health, and welfare during the interim time period while a permanent ordinance is being prepared. Adoption of an urgency ordinance this evening would require a 4/5 vote of the council, and if adopted, the urgency ordinance would ensure the protection again of the public peace, health, and welfare on a more permanent basis by modifying the zones in which emergency shelters are allowed by right and discretionary approval. It is important to note that the changes to the zoning ordinance would remain exactly the same from what was previously included in the urgency ordinance brought back in March. If the urgency ordinance is adopted tonight, it is not required that a regular permanent ordinance be brought back. However, staff does plan on bringing back a regular permanent ordinance reflecting these changes because it will allow for a more thorough analysis and review of the changes while still protecting the public peace, health, and welfare during the interim period while the permanent ordinance is being prepared. So what is before you tonight is a matter of procedure to ensure continued protection until the permanent ordinance can be drafted and brought back to the Planning Commission and then the City Council upon recommendation to the City Council. It is anticipated that the permanent ordinance will be brought forward in the next 2 months or so. There are additional details in the staff report specifically regarding the proposed changes to the zoning ordinance, which the council has seen before, but it is also, of course, included in the staff report and in the urgency ordinance itself. So I won't go into those details here this evening. But again, if council has any questions on that, I'm here to answer them. So with that, the recommendation is that the City Council adopt urgency ordinance number 2403, amending the Buellton Municipal Code pertaining to permit requirements and appropriate zones for emergency shelters. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kiefer. I will bring that back to council for any questions of staff. Lisa?
No questions.
That's it.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was just looking for this, but I didn't see it. So could you tell me in layman's terms, like we're basically allowing this, what this emergency ordinance is doing?
Yeah, so basically it's again changing the zones that emergency shelters are allowed by right versus either by right, not allowed, or by a discretionary permit. So currently, the general commercial zone, it's allowed by right, and we would be changing that zone to be allowed by right in the industrial zone, and a couple of other changes in there, changing it to discretionary permit requirements in some other zones as well. So it's just a matter of basically state law requires that we identify a zone in the city that allows emergency shelters by right. And so we would be accomplishing that by this modification. And that is actually more of the standard practice, I believe, is to allow them by right in the industrial zones.
Is the manufacturing and industrial synonymous?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, refresh my memory again. What is A? I know CUP is conditional use permit and the development plan. What is A again?
A is zoning clearance.
Zoning clearance, okay. Council Vice Mayor Silva, you have any questions?
None for me.
Okay, I will open this up for public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Not on Zoom.
Okay, I will bring it back to council for further discussion or possible motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Linda?
Okay, Councilmember Lewis.
Aye.
Councilmember Hornick.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silva.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and that passes. We will move on to agenda item number 11, and this will be a discussion of possible ballot initiative to increase transient occupancy tax, and our staff contact will be Scott Wolf, City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is a very brief item this evening. Some months back, well, actually, back in March, I believe, of this year, I was contacted by staff from the city of Solvang to discuss the possibility of bringing an initiative forward on the ballot this November that would allow an increase in our transient occupancy tax or our hotel bed tax from its current state of 12% up to a level of 14%. The reason that they've asked me this is they have done some polling, which indicates that such a measure within the city of Solvang may well pass. And it's generally felt that it's best for the region if the cities maintain an even playing field, level playing field, so that one city's not charging more tax than the other. We have not done that sort of polling. I did contact a polling firm that we've used previously and discussed the matter with them, and their feeling was they could do the polling for us, but given the fact that the results from the city of Solvang were very positive, given our tied economy and the similarities between the size of Buellton and the size of Solvang, they felt it wasn't really necessary to do it to move forward. I did reach out to Visit SYV, which has as its member the hotels within the San Ynez Valley, and spoke with Shelby Sim about his organization's position on this particular item. They don't take a position. However, he did reiterate that the concern that the member organizations of that or the member entities of that organization would have to do with maintaining that level playing field. And essentially his sentiment was if Solvang is going to go through with it, might be an opportune time for Buellton to do so as well. So we have not spent any time or money on this beyond what I've just described, but the time is upon us if we're going to place something on the agenda to make a decision on that. If the city council would like to proceed, we can bring back at the next meeting a draft initiative to place this on the ballot in November. I'll leave it to the council's discretion as to give staff direction for that. We are prepared to do so. We will have another initiative on the ballot at that point as well. That's our urban growth boundary initiative, which the council gave us direction to bring back 2 weeks ago. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the city council may have. Otherwise, I'm finished here.
Okay, I'll bring it back to city council for any questions of staff. Sure.
No questions.
Does this transient occupancy tax, does that go to enterprise fund or does it?
No, it would be general fund.
David?
Nothing for me.
All right, I will open this up for public comment. Do we have any letters or public comment from any parties? Do not. Okay. I will bring a closed public comment, or we'll bring it back to council for direction for staff. Anybody opposed for Scott bringing a future agenda item for this issue?
No,
No?
I like the idea of keeping continuity in the city. So if Solvang's planning on doing it, it makes sense to have it be. And I think it's important to note that the TOT is for people coming and staying at the hotels. And while our locals do randomly do staycations and such, it's mainly a tax that doesn't affect locals.
Right.
That's great because all the programs come from, a lot of it comes from.
Right, from TOT, right. David, you have anything?
I can kind of hear what you all are saying, and it all sounded great to me. So yeah, I'm in agreement with the TOT to move it for the ballot initiative. I think it's a good idea for us.
Then staff has direction.
We do. Thank you.
All right, moving on to number 12, the consideration of policy for flying flags banners at city facilities. And once again, this is going to be staff contact, City Manager Scott Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. The city council has previously given staff direction to return with a draft ordinance to address the issue of the flying of flags and banners within the city. The city council, at the time this was discussed, suggested that we model our policy after an ordinance which was adopted by the city of Boston, Massachusetts. We have obtained that ordinance and come up with a policy document which is included within your packet as an attachment to the staff report. I won't go through reading all of it, but I will note the highlights which are identified in the staff report. Flags flown at City Hall shall only be the U.S. flag, California flag, and the City of Buellton flag unless exceptions are allowed by City Council resolution. Flags flown on the Avenue of Flags essentially shall be limited to other than the U.S., California, and Buellton flag shall be limited to a flagpole which is to be placed on one of the medians at a date in the future. The 50-foot flagpoles on the medians are part of a monument, and therefore only the U.S. flag will be flown on those flagpoles. And the flagpoles which exist on median 4 is also a monument. It's a veterans monument essentially, and so those flags will remain in place with only the state flag, the U.S. flag, and the flags of the branches of military service and the POW/MIA remembrance flag will be flown there. Our street light banners, which we discussed some time ago when we were talking about arts and culture projects involving banners. The street light banners on Avenue of Flags shall remain city-sponsored banners. That would be those banners which are typically flown there by our Visitors Bureau or by our Arts and Culture Commission or our Arts and Culture Program or by other direction from the City Council. The flag or the banners on Highway 246 and Industrial Way may be placed by organizations which are recognized by the City Council as part of their cultural heritage observance recognition, such as the 2 proclamations that were issued tonight. When those flagpoles or those light pole hardware gets installed, if those organizations which are being honored wish to fly banners during certain periods of time, we can authorize that as well. That's really the nuts and bolts of it. There's a little bit more to it, but it's a very short, to the point and very easily administered policy. Set of policies. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on this, but essentially this is the direction that was given by the City Council earlier. So,
right. All right, I will bring it back to City Council for any questions of staff.
No questions.
What's it? David?
I just had one. I wasn't quite sure, and maybe Scott, you could explain it a bit further. Does a flagpole exist on Avenue of Flags that would allow for this to happen, or we don't have one yet, correctly?
not have one yet. If the City Council wishes to do so, we can investigate installing one on a temporary basis until such time as we have a design for median 3. We can install one temporarily on median 3 for that use, and then build it into the ultimate design. We are kind of actually have a concept for that already for the median 3 design, which will be coming to the City Council for review fairly shortly.
Okay.
And it
So
doesn't have to be a 50-footer.
No.
So yeah, the only piece I was curious about is if there was a means of maybe having staff at least be able to provide us feedback on what it would look like from a temporary flagpole, so that as we're talking about these things, there's actually an opportunity until median 3 is developed. If there's a willingness to see what that cost is.
We can certainly look into that if that's the direction of the council. Yeah.
And by no means a 50-footer.
Yeah. And I do have a question. We're not going to change the wayfinders on either the 246 or industrial, because there have been some, the wayfinders where it says restaurants.
Oh, the kiosks. Yeah, no, that's not a part of this.
Well,
policy.
but we can also put banners there intermixed in with, say, if there's a cultural heritage
Oh.
Month or something, because there have been some concerns from the people on industrial that nobody knows where they are, and so.
And I've discussed with some of the businesses on Industrial Way, some of the options that can be used to place some
Right.
signage there. If we at some point have an opportunity to place banners in other locations, or change those wayfinding signs, for lack of a better term, and we want to include the banners on that, we can come back with an amendment to this policy
Right.
and include those.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure we're not gonna cut them.
No,
completely
we're
out.
not precluding any future action there.
Okay, I will open up public comment. Any public comment on this?
No, sir.
Linda? Scott? No?
No.
Okay, I will bring it back for further discussion and a possible motion to adopt.
I'll move to adopt the policy for flying of flags and banners at city facilities as presented.
Mr.
I'm
Silva,
happy. Oh, I'm happy to second unless you wanted to, Hudson.
I just want to make sure you didn't have anything else to say.
No, no one have anything to add.
I think that was a second.
Okay, Linda?
Okay, Councilmember Lewis.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silva.
Aye.
Good morning. And Mayor King.
Aye. Okay, let's move on to number 13, discussion regarding restriping of South Avenue flags, and this will be staff contact, Public Works Director Rose Hess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. Let me try to bring up the exhibit here. Council directed staff to move forward with the 1 lane in each direction with turn pockets, northbound into Flying Flags and southbound into Rancho de Maria at Shadow Mountain. So I will bring up the attachments here. Find it. Fine. There we go. Okay. Excuse me. So attachment 1 to the staff report is our exhibit from our traffic engineer that shows what the striping, proposed striping would be with 1 lane in each direction and with the turn pockets proposed. Let's see. And zoom in a little bit closer to the intersection. I think in particular, we're interested in looking at this intersection with Shadow Mountain Drive. And this would include, this is the traffic calming measure to help reduce speeds. The idea is to funnel through traffic to 1 lane in each direction that minimizes the area across Avenue of Flags in which multiple vehicles could pass pedestrians that would be crossing at this, potentially crossing at this intersection. So if they're only at 1 lane, then we're looking at that reduced area. What was not included in the packet was the previous attachment 3 that was discussed at the last council meeting. I do have that with me tonight, so I can provide that here. Wanted to review what that looked like. Again, this is not our engineer drawing, whereas the prior one was our traffic engineer, but goes the same line. This is, the idea is to reduce down to 1 lane, northbound, southbound. And there would, this is what it would look like on, at least on the southbound side, if there is no right turn lane at that direction. But if you go back to attachment 1 as part of the staff report, the idea we have here is that the merge lanes would end much further north, just south of Avenue of Flags. So this is Zaka Street at the very top of this match line. And you're going to have the two southbound lanes merge into one southbound lane here. Pushing the bike lane a little bit further into the road that would accommodate the right turn lane, but still funnels through traffic a little bit more towards the center and meets down south of Shadow Mountain. You'll see the shoulders bumped out with the bike lane additional buffer that would be accommodated at that point. In the northbound direction, we're already primarily at one lane going northbound. The roads is bumped out further west to accommodate the right turn pocket into Flying Flags. You've got the bike lane going northbound between a through lane and the right turn pocket and moves further north. The exhibit continues moving further north, show the match line just to show the additional configuration that would occur right at the State Highway 246 intersection. Again, that's keeping the through lane, one lane each direction. This configuration right at the intersection is essentially what it is now. You've got one through lane going northbound, a left turn pocket, a right turn pocket, and the bike lane. Going southbound, again, it's the same. You've got two lanes going southbound to match what's on the north, from the north of 246. We're just reducing the area in which vehicles have to merge into the single lane. Again, we are making these recommendations for this traffic calming activity now. This is our current fiscal year's road maintenance project, is Avenue of Flags. So this is the opportune time to take advantage of a clean slate, if you will, to restripe the road to include traffic calming measures. The other improvements that's not detailed here, but would be incorporated, be raised pavement markers, you know, so that you've got the little vertical delineation, that you've got shoulders and lane lines that are different, and channelizing the traffic as well. And staff's available to answer any questions and recommend that you approve these changes to the striping for Avenue Flags, and we can incorporate them into our road maintenance project.
One of the two, one of the two
Yes,
options,
yes.
right? Or some version of those two options.
Right.
All right, I'm gonna bring it back to, thank you, Rose. I'm gonna bring it back to council for questions of staff. Alicia,
No question.
that's it.
No questions aside from if is there one that staff recommends together?
I'm sorry.
Is there one option that staff recommends over another?
It's up to council. The northbound direction, we do have, you know, we have seen and exhibited need for the right turn pocket, so we would keep that. We haven't seen a backup of traffic going on the southbound direction. So that option is really the will of the council at this point. If you were not to put in the right turn pocket, we would essentially be extending that shoulder mark down, and vehicles would still move to the side into order to make their turn. So this
Into
would
Shadow
just
Mountain?
into Shadow Mountain.
I agree. Thank you, Rose. I think that absolutely right. The demonstrated need for a right turn into RV Flying Flags there northbound. I'm not sold on the right turn going southbound into Shadow Mountain Drive. I know I particularly asked for potentially seeing that, but after looking at the intersections, Buellton, Shadow Mountain, I think Bear Creek further south, which is one lane right now, I don't see it impacting traffic to have it be one lane. And if the ultimate purpose of this is to calm traffic and to provide a safer crossing, I think it's better to have it be one lane. And that's where I am right now.
I would agree with that.
David?
I think actually Councilmember Hornick took care of what I was gonna ask about, so yeah, nothing left for me.
Okay, where were the raised markers on here? It's kind of hard to determine. You said there was.
It's
raised-
not shown, it's just part of the list of items on here, because this is just a schematic, with the line drawings of where the lines and lanes would be.
Gotcha.
Raised pavement markers would just be on top of the lane lines. Shoulder lines, etc.
Okay, I don't have any further questions right now, and I'm gonna go open up public comment. Any public comment on this? Scott, Linda?
Yes, sir.
No? Okay, I will close public comment and I will bring it back to the council. And I do have some considerations here. I think and I see how we're moving the arrows back and forcing traffic over to a single lane. And then I do think it would be a good idea to have that right lane turn pocket southbound to westbound Shadow Mountain. Because then your through traffic can continue down southbound. The issues that we have are really more in the morning when people are coming from the west side and they're trying to get on the freeway. A lot of them do use Shadow Mountain to zip down and get onto the freeway instead of going up to the intersection waiting at the traffic light. So I think that the northbound right turn lane into Flying Flags and the southbound right turn lane is probably a good idea. If we eliminate that right turn lane going into Flying Flags, if they have like a particularly heavy traffic flow going into there, you got some RVs and they're all waiting at the kiosk, waiting to get in. This traffic may back up onto the northbound side of Avenue of Flags. So I think
Hudson said the opposite though.
what's that?
Hudson
Yeah.
wasn't suggesting get rid of that.
That was.
No, I understand
Okay,
that.
okay.
I'm just, I'm on my own tirade here.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
So I think that it's a good idea for us to have that right turn lane. So if you do have some, multiple RVs going in there, it's not going to impede that northbound traffic. So the southbound, and let me get back to you, Hudson, is you do not think this is a good idea to have that right turn lane, or you do?
I don't because one, if you look at how it would work is the bike lane essentially gets cut off and then the bike lane has to basically cross or if your car traveling southbound on South Avenue Flags there and you want to turn right, you'll have to cross over the bike lane to do that. That's one minor detriment, but also I just don't think the traffic requirement. And as you said, if they're zipping down Avenue Flags to get on the 101, well, that's exactly sort of the purpose here is to calm traffic. So if you keep it in one lane, you effectively do that more effectively. And then further south on Avenue Flags, it already is one lane now, and there's never been an issue right turning lane onto Bear Creek or whatever it is. And that's so that just to reiterate, currently right now there is one lane southbound on Avenue Flags to turn into Bear Creek. You can't see it on this diagram, but that's how it is right now. And there's no backlog. There's no traffic concern there. And so, as I said, to increase safety crossing from Shadow Mountain to Flying Flags, I think that's a good step to remove the pocket and just sort of slow traffic crossing.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with you on that. Now, this is really wide enough, and I did go over there and take a look at this before this meeting. And people basically pull over to the curb to the right anyways and turn into Shadow Mountain. So what this is basically doing is designating a right turn lane. Now, I have been in many, many cities throughout the state of California where there is a class 1 bike lane, this is what it's designated. The green is part of that class 1 bike lane, but it has the dash lines where you have to get into there, and allow that bike lane to be open. So what this is basically doing is guiding people, in my mind, to stay out of that bike lane by going into that right turn lane. So the other caveat that I would like to do to this is if we are going to take time, money, and effort to make a right turn lane, there should be a sign there, a black and white regulatory sign that says right turn only. So people don't try to scoot into that and maybe somebody's slowing down to go Avenue of Flags and they drive through that and then they pull back out and they continue southbound instead of making that right-hand turn. So in order for us to make this official, there would have to be a black and white regulatory sign that said right turn only. So if you jump into that, drive to the intersection, pass that sign and continue southbound, you are in violation of that black and white regulatory sign. Is it really that big an issue to have the right turn lane there? Because basically people are using the far right-hand edge of the road, or the west side of the road, if you want to call it, to turn into there anyways. So what this is basically doing is making a specific designated right turn lane into Shadow Mountain.
So right now, there's 2 lanes,
Right.
and the idea would be to shorten it to 1.
Well, yes, I understand that, but if you look farther up the road on this part of the diagram, we are moving those arrows back a sufficient distance to advise people that it is narrowing down into a 1 lane. Basically, if you're narrowing that down, I think with some of these concerns that have been before this council about traffic slowing down through this intersection, what you would effectively do is instead of people going to this point, which I think you can see on yours, and then going over because it is a 2 lane going into 1, then what we've done is we've moved that effectively closer to Highway 246. So people are seeing that, okay, I need to merge over because it's becoming 1 lane. So your concerns about the speed at this particular intersection, as discussed in previous conversations, is that this 2 lane is going to go farther down the road, therefore giving people the opportunity to have a passing through this area and speed up to try to get by somebody going slower. However, if we have narrowed them down to a single lane further back here, then you do not have that opportunity to speed up and pass somebody prior to getting to Shadow Mountain.
You don't, but you also have a speed up and merge opportunity. And you also have to keep in mind the realistic possibility, and nobody can really see when I'm pointing at the mayor's screen here, but the likelihood or possibility of traffic in the right-hand lane southbound, knowing they're going to turn right, ignoring the sort of merge to the single lane right before you turn right option, right? I mean, you can put little speed bumps or little markers in the road there, but realistically, people are going to drive straight into that right turn lane and then turn right. And that would be effectively cutting across the bike lane. And again, there is already 1 lane southbound of this Bear Creek. There's no traffic concern there. What we're really trying to do is slow traffic down. I think no turn pocket at that intersection is the way to do it. Absent a crosswalk or raised crosswalk or something like that.
Well, I will reiterate my concern there is that these arrows that we're proposing to move further back towards Avenue of Flags is advising people you have to get over into that single lane. You see what I'm talking about, Lisa?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I was gonna still do it. I'm following what Hudson's saying is if they know they're gonna turn right, they're probably not gonna do it. They're probably just gonna keep going and go habits are habits. I see what Hudson is saying in that if they're one behind the other and one is turning, you have no choice but to slow down. Rather than if there's the turn lane and they get out of your way, you're still speeding by.
Well,
I see that.
it looks by this diagram here that approximately 400 feet prior to that is where you're moving over into that single lane. This sight distance here, and see what my concern is here's where we have it now. That's the existing one. Here's the 2 that they want to put farther up towards Avenue of Flags. So my concern is, or consideration is that now we're forcing people into a single lane much farther back than they're doing it now. And so there's a consideration that people want everyone to slow down before going into this intersection. So what you have effectively done is you've taken away those 2 lanes at a greater distance away from that intersection, and you will naturally have to slow down. And then anyone that wants to go here is going to get out of the way of this traffic in the single lane and go into that right turn pocket. Which I will refer back to my traffic history of being a traffic officer, is that when you force people into the single lane, they are naturally going to slow down.
Right.
Giving them more of an opportunity from
wouldn't it-
here to here where it is now to build up a greater speed and pass people prior to getting to this intersection, because I know how people are. If a car's going 5 miles an hour slower than they want to go, and there's 2 lanes, they're gonna try to gas it and pass this slower vehicle prior to getting into this single lane on the opposite side of the highway.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, but.
So we're basically forcing people into a single lane farther north than what it is now.
But Rose, do you mind going back to the single lane option on the screen, please, on the shared screen?
And I do apologize for interrupting, but I just want to make it clear that when everyone's directing with here, here, and here, I can't, if you could just be mindful of explaining a bit more without using the word here, that'd be helpful.
Right now, David. You are just behind a big white screen.
Just use your imagination, David.
Yeah, there.
And please
I'm
note,
guessing what you're talking about, Dave.
and just for the record again, looking at where the bike lane and the shoulder strips here is different from what that traffic engineer has actually determined where they should be. It would be shoulder, bike lane, certain amount of, like on the south side, little funneling here. But it'd be shoulder, then bike lane, not as opposed to what's shown in attachment 3. You've got bike lane and shoulder, et cetera.
Right.
So,
And so this is my idea is, can you scroll up from there? And I guess to address Mayor King's immediate point, in this option, the single lane option southbound Avenue Flags, is the merging that occurs the same place as option 2? The merging into 1 lane?
yes, it's further
Same.
north.
So it's, the only difference is whether or
The
not there's
turnpike.
a turn lane.
Right.
Right. Correct.
So again, Rose, if you mind going back to the other screen, I'm gonna say that this option here, with the addition of the shoulder and the buffer being one unified, you're not gonna drive here front, is more effective at slowing down traffic that's gonna right turn into Shadow Mountain than having a right turn pocket there. That's
Right.
where I stand with it.
Right, and I can see your concern, and I think what your concern is that class A bike lane. Your bicycle riders will be in conflict with anybody slowing down to turn right if there is somebody in that class A up against the curb. So the way I'm looking at this other option is that you're taking the bicycle rider out. If somebody wants to make a right-hand turn, they can continue southbound on that road in the class A bike lane without conflicting with the people making a right-hand turn. That's why, to my point about putting a right turn lane in there, is that bike riders can continue in that class A down the road without having to conflict with
So
somebody
the
that's
bike
making
lane
a turn.
stays solid
The
and
green,
the turn,
Right, see where the green is?
uh-huh,
Bike rider could go in that class, we're basically moving the class A over and putting in a right turn lane where the existing class A is now.
so the right
Right.
turn lane's on the left, right there where Rose is
Where the
pulling.
green line is.
Yeah,
So
on the
someone-
left of that,
so
No,
see
the
the
bike
dash
lane is right
lines?
here.
right, and then on the left-hand side where you
That's
had
the
right
turn
there,
lane.
that's the turn lane.
Right,
Right.
Yeah.
And this dash is technically the area that you would,
right.
that
You
people
pull
want
into
to turn
that
right
and not
would go
conflict
through.
with the bike rider in the class A and make your right-hand turn. The bike rider can continue southbound on that road and not have to speed up or slow down or car or whatever for the bike riders within that class A. The class A is gonna give them the right of way. See what I'm saying?
No, not really.
Okay, Rose, can you go back to the other one? Okay, see the green stripe, that's where your class A is gonna be, right there, your bike lane, right? So anybody turning has to cross into that class A
Yeah.
where there may be a bicycle rider. See where the dashed lines are, the hash mark dash lines? That's gonna be your class A, and so the cars will not conflict with the people in the bicycle lane. If you go with the one that's to the left of the right turn lane.
Well,
Go back to the other one.
They just conflicted it with the other one when they cross over the bike.
Well, see where the dash lines
Yeah,
are?
that's where they're-
Theoretically, that's where you're
Right.
supposed to get into the right turn, okay? So then, if a bike rider is coming south, then they are not in conflict with anybody making that right turn. See what I'm saying? They're not
What's
necessar-
your point? You're just changing where they would be in conflict, right? There would be in the dash line here, they would be in conflict. And then the other option, they're in conflict down by Shadow Mountain, right?
Right. But you're removing that car out of the equation, somebody driving that bike.
If somebody turns
I
into a
think you're
bike.
just moving where the car could
Got it.
get in touch with the person versus, like, you're not alleviating it completely, because the car still has to cross the bike lane to get there, right?
Right.
And quite frankly, if they followed the line in the road, they wouldn't, they would just turn from the lane.
So go back to the other one, Rose.
David, you're gonna have to jump in here because we can't see if you're raising your hand or something.
Yeah. I'll wait till Mayor King's done and then I'll ask my question.
So where that configuration right there is, if somebody's in that bike lane, they're going to have, and someone is riding in the bike lane, they're going to have to wait if that person is ahead of them to go through that intersection before making that right-hand turn. And now you're also, if that person has to wait, you're also holding up southbound traffic. The other configuration is there will not be that conflict between the southbound lane, the bike lane, and the right turn lane. You see what I'm saying? If you're not, technically, you're not supposed to drive in, over, across a class A bike lane. So you can't, technically, you can't really just drive down through a class A bike lane.
So let me ask a question for Rose. Are we putting these little markers in the road? Would that segregate the class A bike lane as Mayor King is putting it? Are we putting little bumps in the road to differentiate?
Yeah.
That's technical.
That's technical.
Yeah, yeah. I
That's
mean,
what the
those
features
will be, I mean, so there's that.
I'm sorry.
They will be on the lane lines, correct?
Okay, may I ask a few questions here just so I can get understanding a bit? One would be just to Rose, just to confirm, either one of these, just for the sake of we had a lot of conversation about concerns of liability or things of that sort, either one of these options are viewed as traffic, like not a liability concern for the city, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Second one is it'd be helpful if maybe Mayor King and Councilmember Hornick, and I mean, Councilmember Lewis, feel free to jump in either, but I think what I would be helpful is, Mayor King, could you explain what you're trying to solve? Not using like this, that, and the other, but what is, by saying you want the right turn pocket, what is that solving from a theory standpoint? Because that would be easier for me to follow along.
It basically is, let's say you have 20 bicycle riders.
Mm-hmm.
All the class A and they're up against the west curb. And can you see her screen?
Yeah, I can see the screens.
Let's say you have 15, 18 bicycle riders coming in this class A bike lane, right? Now we've narrowed it down to one lane at that intersection. So somebody comes southbound, they want to make a right-hand turn into Shadow Mountain. That person making that right-hand turn where Rose has got to go in there, they have to wait till all of those bicycles are clear of that intersection before they can make that turn.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're gonna have the right of way, because if they reach that intersection prior to that person turning, now that whole column of bicycle riders, and trust me, I've seen them, I worked Montecito, you all have to wait until all of those cars or all those bikes have cleared that intersection before you make a right-hand turn. Now, that means you have to stop prior to making the right-hand turn on the Shadow Mountain Road. So now all the traffic traveling southbound, which is probably people that just cleared that intersection light at the 246, now they're all traveling southbound. They all have to wait behind that person making the right-hand turn on a Shadow Mountain Road until all the bicycle riders are clear. What are they going to do? They're going to pass through that right turn lane into flying flags and then go through that intersection illegally.
And does that mean that by having a right turn pocket where you'd have to merge into the right turn lane when bicyclists are going by, they somehow wouldn't have to do that? Because wouldn't they also have to wait to merge into the right turn pocket if 50 cyclists are doing?
No, correct. Now, what she's showing you right now, if you're making that turn and you're the only car making that turn, everybody else that is going southbound in that one lane can drive by you, and they can drive by all 15 bicycle riders that are in that Class A bike lane.
But that would assume, though, that they aren't going through the spot where the car has to go to get into the right turn lane, correct? Because isn't it just in the same situation if 50 bicyclists are going through the dotted line they're sitting in the one lane waiting to go right into the right pocket.
I do get what you're saying. However, that car can get into that right turn lane, and then any bicycle rider, let's say there's a gap, there's a safe gap for you to get in there. Now, the other 12 bicycle riders are behind you. So now you get in that right turn lane, you are now no longer in conflict with the bike riders that are in that Class A bike lane.
But if there was a gap, there would be a gap in Shadow Mountain turn.
Yeah.
If we're gonna hypothesize about gaps, you throw a gap anywhere you want. Gap right in Shadow Mountain, you know?
And I guess conversely to that point, kind of going bouncing to Councilmember Hornick, is your desire to pick the solution that, in your opinion, because I also want to be mindful that you live in this community, you know the community better than I do because I don't live here. Is your thought that a better benefit to this community would be that a truncated, shrunken down avenue of flags would be a better solution for the community for like ease of getting in and out in terms of crossing and improving the ability to like do the crosses since we don't have crosswalks and things like that? Is that what your priority is the slowing down of traffic?
He asked you a question.
Was that to me?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you live in the community, so I'm asking you, is it in your opinion that the best thing for this community is your goal is to make it so that traffic on Avenue Flags is as safely and efficiently slow as possible to allow for better crossing of Avenue Flags as we've talked about in the past? Is that kind of your thought with this?
Yeah, that would be the idea is as Ms. has stated is for traffic calming measures, right? And
Okay.
the way to do that is to not have the right turn pocket. I was on the fence about it, but since we already have a single lane down south in Bear Creek and there's no traffic impediment there, I just don't see why we wouldn't go for the safest possible route here. And then correct me if I'm wrong, city manager, but if this does become an issue, we can restripe, right?
Yes, if there, this is essentially paint on the roadway. If we needed, if there were a problem and we needed to change it, we could go back and change that. As with everything, it's time and money.
Got it. Well,
Rose, go back to that one, would you?
Does this need a motion or is this just direction?
Direction.
How does this work?
Well, we're gonna have an option. We're gonna vote on it, option A or option B. This is one, Rose, correct?
One of your options.
This is option one.
So if we say option
Correct.
one, no turn lane, option two, turn lane.
Correct.
look how safe that looks. Doesn't that look safe? It just looks so.
I would vote for option one, no turn lane, simply having lived in Shadow Mountain and pulled in there, like I lived there for years and I would vote for option one. I see what you're saying, Mayor King, but having used that road extensively for several years, I feel like option one would probably meet the needs.
I agree. I think absent a crosswalk, I think option one is the safest way we could do this. Absent, not just a crosswalk, but it being,
Other measures.
yeah, other measures. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I totally get your concern. If it becomes an issue, I
Okay.
don't think it will because again, South Bend, you can't see it on the display, but there is a single lane there now. It's not an issue now. I think it'll be okay.
All right, I'm gonna open this up for public comment. Les, David, you have something else
No, I'm good.
for public, you have any public comment on this? Okay, I will bring it back to council for a possible motion, and please be specific on your option.
I would make a motion that we restripe South Avenue of the Flags using option one with no turn lane
Into Shadow Mountain.
into Shadow Mountain,
But a turn pocket.
but a
into-
turn pocket into the RV,
Or flying flags.
yes,
right.
RV park.
Second.
Linda?
Councilmember Lewis.
Aye.
Councilmember Hornick.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silva.
Aye.
And Mayor King.
Aye.
You do love us.
All right, that motion passes. We don't have to say I told you so. Okay, moving on to number 14, resolution 2412. Resolution of the City Council, City of Buellton, California, for the purpose of budget amendments from the operational changes related to fiscal year 23-24 budget through the third quarter ending of March 31st, 2024. And the staff contact on this will be our finance director, Chanel Zamora.
Mayor King and members of the City Council. Before you tonight are the budget amendments for fiscal year 23-24 for the quarter ending March 31st, 2024. And as our budget process, we revisit the budget every quarter and update it, whether it is to incorporate previous budget amendments that were brought to City Council and authorized, or due to any operational changes that happened from the prior budget amendment, or any other changes. And so I have let me put up the presentation and we'll go over all the recommended. Okay. So on the screen, I have just a budget overview. So the budget as a whole, the proposed budget amendments to revenue request is 1,102,943. And the proposed expenditure appropriation increase is 1,463,017. So I'll start off with the general fund. So in previous meetings, I've been asked about the general fund and the reserves. So I just wanted to put this out there on the big picture on what these budget amendments would do to our fund balance. So with the proposed amendments, we're looking at the operating revenue about $11 million and a transfer of reserve of 4.7 for a total funding sources of about 15.8, and operating expenditures of 9.5, transfers out 6.2, and the total uses of 15.8. So our revenues, our funding sources equals the total uses sources for a net impact of $0. So the change in fund balance, I kind of wanted to show you how the pool from reserves works. So from the operating revenue and expenditures, our budget is 1.5 million, but we use that first before we touch our reserves, and our capital projects transfers out are about 6.2, so it's the difference. So that's how we get to the reserve, transfers from reserve of 4.7. And again, like I mentioned, just wanted to show on this level of operating expenditures, we're looking about 3.3 that has to stay in reserve, so 5.8 is available for future use. Oh, go back. So looking at the proposed general fund revenue amendments, so the total proposed increase to revenue is 367,538. And this is pulling from reserves to cover the cost of the additional capital projects in excess of the existing surplus. So now the general fund expenditures. So the total proposed budget amendments increases the budget by 727,612. And then I'll go by department and distinguish each proposed amendment. So the first one is a change in the non-departmental budget. The first one is a increase of $110,000 for the emergency funding to the Buellton Senior Center. And the second one is an increase in appropriation that $4,500 that was for a required firewall upgrade. I forgot to mention the first one was previously authorized, and then this next one is an addition. And then the following one is a change to the transfer out for capital improvement project. The first one is 526,198. This particular increase is due to the award of the contract to RDC contractors for the McMurray Road Maintenance Project. This amount
wasn't previously authorized by city council, but on the previous staff report, it did mention that the funds came from general fund, gas tax, and Measure A. So in this particular budget amendment, kind of looked around what the fund balances were to allocate the appropriate amount in each of those funds. And then the second increase to capital projects was actually an addition. So we added a project that was for a conceptual plan and feasibility study on West Highway 246 safety improvement measures. So this project is designated as project 092-309. And this amount of 53,600 was previously authorized by city council through the contract with COA. So with those, these proposed budget amendment would increase the non-departmental budget by $694,298. So some of the following capital or not capital operating expenditures actually was kind of highlighted on your quarterly report on the consent calendar. And this has to do with the increase to utilities electric. Some of these was we kind of been monitoring the expenses, and the increase is due to electric costs due to rising PG&E rates. So for the library, this is an increase of $1,000. And I do want to add that overall, the PG&E costs have been coming down since we did solar, but the thing is that PG&E rates went up. And in addition, when the budget was created, we actually estimate way below where we thought we would be. So that's another reason. It's not necessarily that we're paying more for PG&E rates. It's just that we assume when we did the budget that we were going to save a lot more than that.
Pause you right.
Mhm.
So what were the rates prior to the solar panels?
I don't have the rates, but I do have a
Okay, I'll talk to you
comparison.
about it offline then.
Okay. So moving along, the second one for Public Works streetlights, this proposes an increase of $20,000. The next budget appropriation increase is to the Public Works Parks Department. The first one that I listed is a $5,000 appropriation increase due to the replacement of deadbolt locks of the parks. And then the second one is a $5,200 appropriation increase to account for the cost of the electricity. So that's a total of $10,200 to the Public Works Parks Department. And the second department on this page is a $600 increase to the utilities electric, again, due to the rising PG&E costs. So this particular one actually shows a decrease of $616 to Public Works General. The first one is an increase in appropriation of $23,000, and this is an increase for vehicle maintenance for public work fleet vehicles and equipment. The second one is a $1,384 increase to utilities electric for the cost of PG&E rates. And this third one is actually a reduction. So it's an appropriation decrease of $25,000 for the purchase of a new truck. It actually turns out that we had budgeted $25,000 for Public Works General and $25,000 for wastewater. And when we purchased the vehicles, it was for the water and wastewater. And the last general fund expenditure appropriation is to the planning department. And again, this is for the utility costs. So that's an appropriation increase of $2,130. So moving along to the next fund, this is the wastewater fund. So again, I'm showing an overview that due to the budget appropriation increase and transfer from reserve, the budget is again nets to zero. And we're gonna pull 51,191 from reserves to cover the increase in operating expenditure or expenses. So with that, the proposed increase to revenue is 51,191, which is a transfer from reserves to fund operating increases. And so those increase include $16,000 increase to the electric costs and 16,321 appropriation increase for the purchase of a new truck to replace fleet vehicles. And the last one is 18,870 increase in appropriations for vehicle maintenance for public works, fleet vehicles and equipment. And next, the water fund. Again, the increases to appropriations and revenue projections net to zero. This is done by transferring 119,624 from reserves to cover the operating and capital improvement projects. So for revenue projections, we're requesting 119,624 of water reserves to be transferred to fund the CIP project and operating increase. So for the water fund, the first increase is $17,300 for the increase in the electric cost due to PG&E rates. And then the second one is 41,324 increase in appropriation for the purchase of a new truck to replace the fleet vehicle. And this is what I mentioned before, it was not budgeted before. And third increase is $29,000. And this is to maintenance of the vehicles and equipment. So this last appropriation increase is $32,000. And this is for project 092-613, which is the reservoir number 2 re-roof repair. And this is just to increase the project management and inspection costs. So next fund that has a proposed budget amendment is the gas tax. So this one's related to the RDZ construction cost of that McMurray Road project. So with the proposed budget amendments, this will net to zero. So staff proposes an increase to transfer from reserves in the amount of $466,166. And the increase to transfers to capital projects of the same amount of $466,166. So the last fund with the proposed budget amendment is the Measure A fund. Again, this is related to the McMurray Road project construction cost. And this overview just shows that with the budget amendments, the net impact is zero. And that's a rise from a transfer from reserves of $98,424. So here, council or staff proposes a transfer of reserves of $98,024 and a transfer out for capital improvement projects of $98,424. And this just is a whole overview of the capital improvement budget. I'm not going to go into detail since I already went kind of explained those changes on there. But with the increases in the capital projects, it's a total increase of $1,122,788 for a total capital improvement budget of $11,562,292.
What was
Um,
that last number? I'm sorry, I should know.
So that's the total capital improvement budget. So that's 11,562,292. And so for the, oops, so I already mentioned these, so I'll go ahead and skip these. As I mentioned, it had to do with the Highway 246 safety improvement, adding that 53,600. That's a new project. And the reservoir number 2 construction or project management cost, adding that into the budget of $32,000. So with that, staff recommends City Council approve resolution number 22-12, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, for the purpose of budget amendments from operational changes related to fiscal year 23-24 budget through the third quarter ending March 31st, 2024. And if City Council has any questions, I am now open to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Chanel. I will bring it back to the council for any questions of staff.
No question.
That's it.
Well, you know me, can't pass up an opportunity. Chanel, you you did that initial breakdown at the beginning of the presentation where you had the general fund balance and sort of what was coming from reserves. Do you mind pulling that back up, please? Nope. Maybe before that.
Which one?
Yeah, that one. Okay. So this is cool. Thank you. So this means at the end of our fiscal year, our general fund balance is roughly 9,220,000, and then is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. With a $6 million transfer out from the beginning of last fiscal year, 2023. Is that right?
So that 9.2 is already accounting for the transfer out of this
Right.
fiscal year.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, so is it fair to say then from this is basically our reserves have been depleted roughly 6.2 million.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you've used, 6.2 million from
Thank you.
reserves.
Thank you. Okay, no further questions.
David?
No questions.
All right, and I do not have any questions either. I will open this up to the public. Any public inputs? All right, I will close public input. I will bring it back to council for further discussion or possible motion.
I would move to approve resolution number 24-12, a resolution, do I have to read it all? Do I have to read it all or just?
No,
Okay.
to approve the resolution.
The only thing I would say is that there is a spelling typo at the very top in the title of resolution where it says fiscal year. It's the second line. It says fiscal year. I don't know if we want to change that or update it, if it even matters, but it's there.
That's a typo. We'll fix
Yeah,
that.
no, got it.
Seconded.
Linda?
Okay, Councilmember Lewis.
Hi.
Councilmember Hornick.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silva.
Aye.
Mayor King.
Aye. Okay, let's move on to city manager's report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, I don't have much for the city manager's report. I will announce again for the benefit of the public, we do have the consideration of the placement of 2 ballot initiatives coming up at the next city council meeting. One for the TOT measure, which was addressed this evening. The other would be for a potential update to the city's urban growth boundary initiative. I am still encouraging members of the public to submit any comments that they have. We will bring any comments that we've received from the public to the next meeting for the city council to consider before you make your final determination on the ballot. And with that, I'll conclude my report.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Counselor?
Nothing for me tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and next week I will be in Huntington Beach for JPIA and I will be available by telephone. Okay, and that concludes this meeting until May 23rd, my birthday at 6 p.m.
Are you gonna bring it?